Now that Beta 18 has dropped, everyone has been talking about how good the ERODE is and how much better it is over Beta 17. But is it actually better? And how much has it changed? Or is this just one of those things where everyone's just saying it's way different because they were told it's different, but it's actually not that different? Well, lucky for you, before Beta 18 dropped, I pre-recorded a bunch of footage from Beta 17. I picked a very simple track so we could all focus on the ERODE and not really anything else. I went ahead and recorded 5 laps on 1 ERODE, 5 ERODE, 10 ERODE, and last 20 ERODE. When Beta 18 dropped, I went in and recorded the same levels of deformation on the same track with the same number of laps. What follows will be a side-by-side comparison from Beta 17 on the left and Beta 18 on the right, and so we can compare each level of ERODE. Okay, so at 1 ERODE, there really isn't much of a difference between the two. I mean, heck, you can hardly tell there's any ERODE at all. I think you would really need like 20 or so laps at 1 ERODE before you can even tell a difference. But in some of these corners, you can start to see some individual lines form, which I do think is pretty cool. And actually, at the end of this, I will put 20 laps at 1 ERODE on both 17 and 18. Before we go any farther, I'd like to take a second to let you guys know about an awesome upcoming race. This race will be available for anyone of any skill level and will be hosted by Blue Collar Gaming, and it will be a 125 only race on the track Mill Creek. Recently, I cast one of their events, and it was such a smooth, enjoyable experience that I decided I would cast this event as well. Also, I wanted just to get the word out about their awesome community and their Discord. If you're interested in racing this event or just joining their awesome community, go down to the description and click the first link that you'll find there, and that'll take you to their Discord. Make sure you let them know Doc sent you, and on that note, let's get back to the video, boys. Okay, boys, even at 5 ERODE, you can really start to see the difference between Beta 17 and Beta 18. And this is only with 5 laps on the track, so imagine if it had more. The biggest takeaway I'm taking from 5 ERODE is really just the individual lines that are starting to form in the corners and in the straightaways, as well as how the lines intersect with each other from Beta 18. Beta 17 just seems to flatten the entire track out, where Beta 18 really seems to give you that more individual line option, which is something that's super cool and something we've all wanted during Beta 17. Okay, now we are starting to get into like the nitty gritty here, and I think actually where this comparison starts to get the most interesting. To me, it just seems like the amount of deformation in Beta 18 at 10 ERODE is really not as noticeable as 10 ERODE on Beta 17. Like, the ruts just don't seem as deep. Unless you cross the ruts over, then it seems like Beta 18 really digs down. Another huge thing that I'm noticing is how much smoother Beta 18 ruts are looking. They just don't seem as jagged and as sharp, and I'm hoping that translates to like less weird kicks in these ruts, and maybe we can actually get locked into ruts and have super deep rutty track. Also, we're still continuing that thread of a lot of individual lines versus just a deep flattened track, you know, which is really, really cool. So at 20 ERODE, we have some of the same characteristics that we were getting in 10 ERODE, but this time Beta 18 actually seems like it's a lot deeper. Well, kind of. I'll get to that later. One thing I can say is while riding the 20 ERODE in Beta 18, it was still really, really hard to ride, but it wasn't unrideable. Now, I only did like 5 laps, so you know what I mean. It was only 5 laps, so maybe it was just because of that. But if you've ever ridden 20 ERODE in Beta 17, you know as soon as you touch one of those insanely deep ruts, you're just going to get yeeted to the moon. It didn't seem to be like that in Beta 18. Now, I did crash like 24/7, but I was crashing for different reasons. I felt like I was crashing because the rut was really deep and I was cross-rutting and I just was kind of bad at the game. And it felt like if I was good enough, I could actually maybe even ride that rut, stay in the rut and ride it out if I didn't use the tapping technique. What's also really interesting is it felt like sometimes the Beta 18 ERODE really wasn't that deep. Like, it just didn't get deep at times, but I think that has more to do with how the track creators make the tracks than the actual ERODE. But definitely Beta 18 at 20 ERODE is a huge improvement over Beta 17. Okay, so after seeing all those different comparisons, I wanted to see something a little bit more realistic. So I went a little bit lower on the ERODE to about 2.5, and I did about 20 laps. I think this is pretty neat. You can see a ton of different line choices in the corners as well as up the faces of the jumps. While I was riding these ruts, it actually felt like the ruts would grab you or pull you or even like lock you into specific lines, and it made it hard to like turn out of a rut. And I think that means you have to be a bit more conscious about your line choice, which is actually really, really nice. However, I'm still wondering how this will do in a lobby of like 30 riders. What do you guys think? Or what has your experience been in Beta 18 so far? Do you prefer Beta 18 ERODE, or does it feel kind of same old? Alright boys, that's all from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and consider subscribing. And on that note, I'll see you in the next one. Woo!